All right, so today we're going to be taking a look at this song called One Day by Emerge. Um, this song has already been recorded, all the drums have been tracked, um, they've already been comped. That's going to be the first step. Do your comps, um, but don't do any fades. Leave all the fades out. You don't want to do any fades because if there are parts where you want to use Beat Detective, Beat Detective's not going to work with fades. So after everything's been comped, go ahead and rename the kick track and name it kick.c. Okay. Um, After that, duplicate the playlist again and rename it to kick plus, just like that. Um, and then we're gonna get into the dirty work here. So I'm just gonna start at the beginning of the song. I've been experimenting with trying to do these edits with and without listening to the click track, because if you listen to it without the click track, you can kind of see how it flows better. But if you listen to it with click, you can see what the timing's like. So, and then just you can just look at the grid. Also, this grid needs to be set to 16 notes. Um, at least you're probably not going to need to use anything other than 16 notes ever. Um, yeah, so you can already see that he did rush that a little bit. I'm trying to decide if I want to use Beat Detective or not because I'm figuring this out. I think I'm gonna go ahead and use it. Yeah. So again, make sure that when you're using Beat Detective that this start is on a X1000. So it's bar blank beat one. You always, or you don't always, but try to get it to be in either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Preferably 1. And then for the end, it's less important, but still try to get it to be something where there's 0, 0, 0 on the end of here. Okay, let's go ahead and load up Beat Detective with Command 8 on the number pad. We're going to start off with clip separation mode. This analysis mode, most of the time you're not going to have to mess with this. I don't think I've ever messed with this, but sometimes, especially if you're not doing drums, you'll want to play with these different settings to see which version Beat Detective is going to pick up the best. But so far, I've hardly ever changed it from Enhanced to Revolution. So make sure that you capture the selection and make sure that these numbers line up with these numbers up here. So you see we have 1 1 for the start bar beat, and up here for our selection we have 1 1. Same thing, the end is 6 4, end 6 4, so that's perfect. So capture that just to be safe, and then I'm going to analyze it. And you'll see none of those purple lines popped up because the sensitivity is at 0. So if I drag this all the way up, then there's that going on. The key command for zooming to the selection is Option F. So you can think like fill to the screen or something like that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and also set this trigger pad to 10 milliseconds. So let's drag this slider up till it's getting pretty much every kick and snare, and sometimes you want it to get hi-hat. Like if you look at right here, it's not getting a kick or a snare. It's just getting the hi-hat, which is cool. We want the hi-hats to be in time too, obviously. So separate those, conform. We'll take a listen. And that's perfect. So I fucked up and got rid of the selection. So what I'm going to do is just type up here manually exactly the same thing that is right here. Make sure that if you have to do that, make sure you type it in exactly the same thing that's right here. And then we'll do the edit smoothing. We wanted to do crossfades as well. Take a listen to that. I heard a couple artifacts in there, so I'm going to turn off the click and listen to it again to see exactly where they are. And I'm going to do that by just hitting the 7 on the number pad. So there's something funky already right there. You know what's interesting? This is the very first song, very first Beat Detective, but you can see right here that Beat Detective grabbed onto the hi-hat instead of the snare for its trigger. That's where these green arrows are. I don't think we're going to want that, so I'm going to move this trigger over to the transient of the snare, and I'm going to tab the transient, hit A to trim the trip to that transient, and then since I'm in grid mode, I'll just move it a little bit. And then when I'm doing this, I'm often holding Command and dragging back just so I temporarily go into slip mode. And if you drag a clip that has a fade, like that, if you drag a clip over that, it removes the fade. So instead of having to click on the fade and deleting it, you can just do that. So then I'll draw a new crossfade right there. Let's listen to that. So I hate the way that he hit that snare. I may replace that later. I see what's going on here though. If you zoom into the waveforms, that's Command Option, right bracket, zoom in the waveforms, and left bracket, zoom out. You can see that this little, bigger area right here, that is this hit. That is this hit. It is picking that. Well, no, it's not like it. Well, okay, it's a different hit, but it's picking that hit up, and we're fading in the middle of it. So I'm just gonna drag this to over here to try to not be doing a fade in the middle of that. Let's see how that sounds. That actually sounds terrible. So we'll drag it back. We'll try it kind of back around where it was, somewhere right in here. I don't want this fade to go into the kick transient at all. Okay, that sounds pretty good. I'm gonna zoom out of the waveform a little bit. It's a little too big for my preference. And you see these hi-hat hits are off. Yeah, it's just a little bit off, so I'm just gonna command click right there, drag this to the grid, I'm holding command while I'm doing all of this stuff right here, just so that we stay in slip mode. That's better. And you can also see that these two hi-hat hits are off, but for some reason tab transient is not picking those hi-hats up. It usually would, but right now it's not for some reason. Not gonna mess with this one because it's fairly close. Well, it looks like he actually hits the snare right there, so I am gonna mess with that one, but I don't know why tab transient's not picking that up. It usually would, I guarantee. If you do have to manually do it, you hold command and click. Holding command manually goes to slip mode. So if you click somewhere and it snaps to the grid, well, you hold command and click somewhere, then you can snap off of it. There's a couple, like if you need to hold shift for something and you hold command, it's not going to work like that. Well, I guess it was actually. Never mind. Okay, that all sounds pretty good. So we're done with that part. Now you can hear, if you listen closely, it cuts off right after this clip. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this back so that we get all of the decay of that clip. Just like that. Alright, so the next thing, we're moving on to the next clip. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to beat detective this as well, select the downbeat, so the beat 1 of this bar, which is bar 7. Make sure you don't go over here, hit beat 1, and I'm going to hit A to trim the beginning of that clip, because a beat detective doesn't like trimming a clip so much that's like this. If you have some hanging off the front and you beat detective that, you're just gonna have to delete this middle part anyways, so you might as well just go ahead and trim it with A. Let's see how long this clip is. It's not too long. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull this back just to make sure that that doesn't line up in a weird spot. Like you can see, it's right now it's at 12.2 tick 876, and that we don't really want that. So we'll have it at 720. We'll go ahead and just do that for this time. Actually, let's do it right here. Yeah, so it ends at 3000. So that's good. And there's not really an issue of coherency with those two clips. So let's go ahead and select this clip. Zoom out of the waveform a little bit. Option F to fill the screen. And we're going to go back to clip separation. Make sure you capture the selection. Make sure that these numbers correspond with these numbers. And analyze it. Now, the sensitivity is a little low. You can see it's not picking up this kick. It's not picking up this kick right here. And you don't really need it to per se, but let's drag it up a little bit more and see if it's going to pick those two up. So it did. So it grabbed that one and it grabbed that one. So that's good. So all the snares are getting grabbed. Hi-hats. It's not grabbing that hi-hat there, but that's okay. Let's just go with it's not grabbing that one either. That's okay. Let's just go ahead and separate them. Do a conform. Let's hear what we got. So it sounds pretty good. I turned on the click in the middle of that. Let's go to smoothing. Smooth them. Okay, so there's definitely some weird things going on. First thing I'm going to do is go in here and redraw these. Make sure that this fades cool. There it is. Sounds good. The first weird thing. Probably right there. If you listen to the hi-hat, it sounds a little bit weird. So what I'll try to do is see if I can get away with using that entire hi-hat hit as one hit. I don't know if this is going to work because you can see that hi-hat hit's coming a little bit after that beat right there. So let's just try it. Let's see what happens. It might sound okay. It might sound terrible. Sounds fine. And I'm just listening to the timing of the hi-hat right now. So there you can hear that the snare gets hit. The snare hits weird. Like it sounds like the snare's getting hit twice. Or it's almost like a flam. So the reason this is happening is because if you look and see how close the snare hit is to the next kick hit, it's having what Beat Detective is doing is taking that kick hit. Oh, you know what? Tab to transient's not on. That's why this is happening. Okay. So it's taking this kick hit, it's breaking it, it's moving it over here, and then it's dragging this clip out. And as soon as you do that, you see, oh, well, this snare hit's basically getting hit twice because the beginning of it is this far off, right? You can see that. So there's a couple different ways to try to do this. My go-to thing is to see if I can just use one clip, if I could drag this back and just hope that it wouldn't sound terrible. But in this case, I don't think it's going to work because it's off a significant amount right in there. So my next thing that I'm going to do is to try to do a time stretch. In order to do the time stretch, you have to delete the fades around it and drag this clip and make it as long as possible. So you can see I don't want that kick hit to be inside of this clip at all. So I'm just going to drag it right there. And then I'm going to hit F6 twice, which is going to change this the trim tool to TCE. So F6 controls that. So trim to selection, time compression expansion, or looping. And we want it time compression expansion. And I'm going to hold command because we're in grid mode. I don't want to stretch this all the way to the grid because I want to use as little of this as possible because it does distort the audio. I'm going to stretch this whole clip back just to about right there. And then I'm going to hit F6 twice again. And then I'm going to hit F6 and F7 to reselect the smart tool. And you'll see when I do that, that tool creates this little dead space right here. There's no audio information right there. So I got to drag this out to that point, and then I'll draw fade. And I'll do the same thing over here. And let's hear what that sounds like. It's not really cutting it. I'm still not really happy with that. So it still kind of sounds like 2 hits. So what I'll do after that, if that doesn't work, I'll copy and paste. I'd probably rather copy and paste before doing that. Nice. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this clip, and I'm going to try to paste it right on top of that sucker. And you see what's going to happen is that there's a new clip right there. I'm just going to delete that, draw new fades in, and I'll go ahead and let that kick's pretty close to the grid, so I'm just going to leave that one and pull this back to the beginning of that clip, draw a new fade. Let's see what that sounds like. It's perfect, right? Okay, now we move on. That one sounds terrible too, so I'm not even going to mess with anything else. I'm just going to go ahead and paste that clip again. So technically we have 3 of the same snare clips in a row going on, which is a little weird, but it'll be fine. Let's hear that. It's all good. Let's listen to that whole part right there. I don't like this one. There's a couple more that I'm not liking, but I do like this hit. I like that one, so let's go ahead and copy this one out. Let's replace this one. Delete, paste, drag that out, delete that fade, drag it back over just to make sure where we are. Now you see that kicks a lot sooner up, so that's not really going to be usable. So we'll try to drag this out and see what happens if we do like this. That may not work because the second snare hit is ringing out a little too much. For this case, I'm going to try to time stretch this one. So I'm going to hit F6 twice, hold command, drag this out a little bit. F6 twice again, F6 plus F7, do a fade, do another fade over here. Let's hear that now. And now it sounds, so I stretch it too much. It's not even worth it. Not even worth it at this point. Let's go ahead and grab this clip again. Copy. Paste. There's a clip underlying there, so delete that. Fade. Get to the beginning of that one, fade that. And it just sounds better. This one's a little bit weird, but I don't see anything weird about it, so I'm going to leave it for now. That one's definitely not right. So we'll delete this, use that same snare hit that we just grabbed, delete that fade, draw a new one in, stretch this out, pull it back, draw a new fade. And that's it. So that's the end of that Beat Detective clip. That one's sounding good to me now. So basically, I'll just repeat this process the whole way. But that's it. That is the gist of it. There's no, I'm trying to think, I don't think there's anything else that I would do at any point throughout the song. Just copy and pasting. Between copy and pasting, time stretching, or redrawing fades, that's really going to be, or moving the fades around. A couple times, there's like a hi-hat hit that is going to sound like, it's going to be in the snare sound. That's going to sound like it was an extra hit, and you'll have to redraw that fade, or move the fade, or copy, or time stretch. So those are really the only things that I can think of. I'll go a little bit longer. I'm not going to say as much because I've kind of talked about most of it here. But so for this next clip, I'm going to go ahead and tab to the first transient, which is the downbeat. Also, I have the click off, so I'm going to turn the click back on. You see, it starts off a little bit off. But I'm going to go ahead and pull that guy in there to the downbeat. Something doesn't seem right about that. Okay, so this hit is intended to be right here, not on downbeat of beat 3. We will, let's see. Let's pull it back this way because I feel like the way that this hi-hat hit, the distance between the hi-hat and the kick is more accurate than the distance between this hi-hat and this kick. Plus, the kick is more significant than the hi-hat anyways. So we'll pull back to the beginning to not catch any of that other part. And then we'll A and trim it back. And then for beat, just to save Beat Detective from a little bit of extra work, we're gonna go ahead and put that kick on the downbeat that are on the beat that it's supposed to be on. So you listen to that. So that's correct. So we'll go ahead and actually I'm not gonna fade this. I'm just going to A that. And then you can kind of tell that everything after this snare hit is a little behind the beat. So I'll go ahead and trim to that snare hit, pull it back, and now you can see everything else is a little bit closer to where it's supposed to be. So now we will. That's a big section, but let's try it and let's see what happens. Option F, Beat Detective's open, clip separation, capture selection. Make sure that these match. Now, what's going to happen is because Beat Detective doesn't show the ticks, you're going to see something like this where it's basically on bar 25, beat 1. And at that point, you just say, okay, that's good enough. Analyze it. On like little on hits where they do like double kicks and whatnot, like something like this right here. As long as you get the first one, most of the time it's going to be okay. So that's fine. So Option F again to get back, and then separate, conform. Let's give it a listen. Okay, I think there might be one part that's a little bit weird right in here, but let's go ahead and edit smooth them because everything else sounded great. So let's listen to that. Yeah, so most of it's fantastic already. We'll draw this beginning back a little bit, put a fade in there, and we'll listen to it again, try to find what we need to fix manually. Oh, there's a gap right here we need to fix. Draw fade. There's not a fade on this guy either. Draw that in. Okay. little bit weird. Yeah, but see, you hit that kick too early. This probably isn't weird enough for me to want to fix right now. I'll probably just leave it for now. I'll go ahead and fix these hi-hats too, because Beat Detective didn't pick that up. But the hi-hats are just as important as the kicks and snares, really. That one's close enough. That one's late. So we'll pull that guy back. Fade it. See, I want to say he hit the snare, but maybe he didn't right there. So you can see, let's see. Yeah, he did hit the snare. Well, no. See, something like this, you gotta check and see if this guy is the same hit as this guy. It's looking like it is, definitely is. So I guess he didn't hit the snare right there. I thought he did. Oh man, this is a tricky one. Lance just texted me. Went with somebody else. Okay. 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 He said, "Hey bud, it is well. We dealt with some things from the bank. Ended up going with another quote. Really appreciate your time on your quotes, but the bank thought too high and like another quote. We got a system together and are going to have to get it together end of next week to set everything up. We got a system together and are going to have to get together end of next week to get everything set up. Also, we went against hanging anything. Hmm. Not on. It's not on me. Not on us. It's everything's fine. I'm not. I don't have anything against them. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I doubt it. But we'll see. I mean, I believe. I mean, I agree with you. But we'll see. See, something sounds weird to me about that. I don't like that. Let's pull this up and let's see what this sounds like. Okay, so that's what he was trying to do. So sometimes Beat Detective is going to do something weird like that. Did you hear what it did? Okay, so this tom hit was not meant to be on the beat that it put it on. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this to where it was supposed to be. Fade it. Pull this guy back. Fade that. Perfect. Do you think he's saying we are going to have, but we got a system and are going to have to get together end of next week to set everything up? You think he's talking about me helping him get everything set up? I don't want to bone him just because of this. Like, I gave him the best I could offer him. Well, we're not. We've been against hanging anything. All right, that's okay. Okay, let's give this a listen. I said thanks for getting back to me. Glad you got figured out, and still would like to help out any way I can. I want to be a part of what he's doing, and if he didn't want to go with that, it's his own fault. It's a weird hi hat somewhere in here. This is getting hit twice. I'm gonna drag this back, see if it's a better spot for that fade. Yep, right there. Here's another one. The Justin Upton deal. That's hi-hat's acting weird. Oops. I think that I'm gonna do a time stretch on this one. It doesn't have to be a long time stretch. There's just too much of that hi-hat getting hit twice. This one. F6 twice, hold command, drag it back. Something weird happened there. Let's undo that. Let's try this again. Just do a little bit less. See what's happening here. Sometimes this kind of shit's gonna happen. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Here it's getting like hit twice. So I'm not gonna mess with that. Go back to regular time stretch or regular trim mode, and then F6 plus F7. I'm pretty sure I can get these key commands to show up, pop up on screen on the when I go to edit the video. So let's just grab another hit that looks like that. Not that one because there's a symbol bleeding out. Yep, that one works. Give that a copy. Come back over. That's the one. Pop it. Copy it or paste it. We're gonna drag that. See, that kick hits a little too early for me. But we can manually fix that. Pull that back, do this. Pull that back, do another fade. Give that a listen. That works. Sounds like something else is going on somewhere in here. I think it's right here. I think, no, doesn't look like it. This might be one of those things that I come back to because I want to get most of the work done as quickly as possible. I feel like there's something missing in here, although there might not be. No, I don't think so. I think it's good. See, this is one of the hi-hat hits I'm talking about. I can hear it somewhere in here. Yeah, it's right here. Okay. You can see that there's a little piece right in here that something happened. Drag it back this way. That's better. That's better. So even though I don't like putting fades in the middle of decays, but sometimes it does work. Which you remember, if it sounds good, it is good. So. Now I can already tell you that this snare hit right here is not going to work, so we're just going to go ahead and paste it in there, drag to delete, fade it, pull it back, pull it this back, fade that, try that again. Same thing on this one. Well, I didn't see it, so. Okay, so that's that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Oh, click. So I think the snare hit was intended for beat 1 of this, I believe. Well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Worst comes to worst, just try something. If it doesn't work, then you can always undo it. But you see that this clip's not wanting to move right now, really, right? Well, it's because of these trigger pads or trigger points that are on here. You hold Option, you click one, it's gone, and then you can move it. Go ahead and drag this back. I'm not going to fade it yet because I'm still might be detective this. Yeah, so that's right. I'm not going to mess with this second hit here. It's close enough. And then I'll tab the snare, break it, pull the snare to downbeat. And see, so that sounded pretty tight when you playing it with the click, right? Well, if you take the click off, listen to what it sounds like. See, it's still not bad, but I think that Beat Detective will improve on this. So we'll go ahead and once again check, make sure you're on bar or beat 1, 0, 0, 0. I care a lot less about the second number, but it's still usually better. Clip separation, capture the selection, analyze it. Separate, conform, and let's give it a listen. And that's an anomaly. We'll smooth it because I think it sounded pretty good. And that sounds fantastic. The beginning of it, there's one snare hit that I want to fix. I'm going to fade the beginning of it. This snare hit was the best one that he did, and the other two kind of have that flam kind of feel to them. So I'm going to copy this snare hit and use it to replace these other two. And what I will do in this situation, because this snare hit was so much better, I will go ahead and fix that kick as well. And just like that. And that's the kick that I just copied over. That's not the the kick that was originally there. So that's the kick that corresponds with that exact snare hit. And I'm going to do the same thing with this snare because the one that I just copied, that last one, was much better than both of these. So trim it, fade it, trim this out, fix this kick. Whoops, there we go. Fix that kick, just like that. And that sounds a ton better. all of that sounds fantastic, so I'm not even going to mess with any of that. Once Which one? Beginning? Well, if you look at it, there's no edit point there. So that's the way that he hit it. If you still want to change it later on, you certainly can. I would not. That's the way he hit it, so I'm not going to mess with it. Yeah. Pretty good. So here's going to be an example of when I use Beat Detective and I'm not starting on beat 1. Starting on beat 2 this time. It should still work pretty much the same, but like I said, Beat Detective is kind of pretty temperamental when it comes to these kinds of things. So let's try to do this whole course at one time. So clip separation, capture, analyze. We're missing a couple kick hits. Let's drag this up, see if it grabs them, and it did. It also grabbed a couple more hi-hats, which I'm fine with. Conform it, and it looks pretty good. You typically know if the conform worked well, whether or not how much the clips moved. So we'll give it a listen. Perfect. Let's smooth it. I don't think that there's any tweaking that needs to be done to any of that one. So all you need to do is go into the beginning of this, and sometimes Pro Tools doesn't work very well, and just draw a fade at the beginning of that clip. It's like, yeah, gotta fix that one too. Whoops, cut off a little bit of that kick. Like that. Great. So now this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen a lot. Where the downbeat of the next section you're about to beat detective is way ahead of the next part you're about to beat detective. So what I would do in this situation, tab to transient, trim that clip, drag the whole thing over, the whole clip, and leave that transient at the line. Listen to how it sounds with the click. See if it's off, see if it's about right. So it really falls apart at the chorus here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to break that clip at the chorus because it's just too far off. Because Beat Detective, if it's too far off, I mean Beat Detective works where if you're whatever side of 50% you are on to the beat, that's what side it's going to go. So if you're more than 50% off beat, it's going to put you on the wrong beat. So we want to eliminate as many of those kind of errors as possible. So capture 37.1, 45.1, and we're going to analyze it. Looks good to me. Separate, conform. See, they didn't move too much, so that should be good. Let's give it a listen. that sounds great. Smooth it. Unfortunately, there's a lot in this one that we're gonna have to look at that snare because it sounded like kind of a flam kind of hit. Fortunately, there's some good ones in here that we can copy. Like this one. This one's great. Just copy that snare hit. Paste it. That kick is not too far off, but it's a little bit. Well, we can give it a listen. If that kick's not too far off, then we'll stick with it. No need to fix it if it's that close. Give it a listen. And you didn't even notice it, I bet. So we'll leave it. Let's replace this one. That one needs to be fixed. So you see I'm kind of going about this a couple different ways. Sometimes I'll delete the clip that I'm about to replace before I copy or paste it. Sometimes I won't. Both like if I don't delete it before, it's just one extra step. I got to delete the clips that are left over. Um so it works both ways. That one needs to go, but that's a hi-hat snare. And that's the best hi-hat snare, I think. So we're going to copy that guy. Pull this back. Come on. What's going on? Oh. There we go. That's what I want to do. So this time I'm going to grab the kick with this snare because this kick's already lined up. And I think that this kick, yes, this kick's way too far off the grid. So I did shift command to grab both clips at the same time. That did not grab this one as well. I think, where did we start with the hi-hat? Right here. Pull this back. Do the same thing here. And that sounds good to me. That's pretty much it, man. I mean, I'm just gonna keep doing this more of the same for the rest of this song. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay, bye.